Welcome students to this video. In this video we will see the various points of processor after reset, the debugging points, what are the features in debugging mode, and uh, the next content is virtual 8086 mode. In this video we will see only the processor state of the reset, what are the values in processor in the registers, what type of initialization is required in real address mode, then how to switch to the protected mode from real mode, what are the different initializations done by the software when the processor is in protected mode. There are the various points that we will see in this video. So first one, initialization. When an input is received on the reset pin, that means power up mode is another way to initialize the processor. So on reset pin, if signal is received or on the power up, the self test is performed, and based on the self test the values are stored in the register. So the contents of various registers are based on various test results which are performed on the 80386. So certain registers of 80386 are set to the predefined values. The predefined values are defined by the manufacturer. This self-test may be requested by an external assertion of busy signal which is at the end of reset pin. So when we perform this initialization, the processor's register, the first register which is EAX, it will hold an 0 value if the self-test on power on is successful. If the value is not 0, that means non-zero value is available in the EAX, then it means that 80386 kit is faulty. So that pin is faulty and we cannot use it. That is the indication when the non-zero value is stored in the EAX. Then the next register is DX. DX holds an component identifier and revision number after reset. As well, we can see in the figure, the contents of ADX are there, where DX is containing the component identifier and that value should be 3. So DH contains 3, which indicates an 80386 component. That is the device connected is 80386 component. Whereas DL contains an unique identifier of the revision level. So diagram is there, which is 32-bit register EX. The upper 16 bits are undefined. In lower 16 bits, the lower 8 bits are DL, which contains unique identifier, and upper DH byte, it contains device ID, which is 3. Next, the remaining registers which we have with the 80386, they are set to some predefined values. So here are the values. E flags, the value after reset in E flag is 00000002H. So 2H is the value in the E flag. Then IP instruction pointer, it will point to the first instruction to be executed after reset. The address is FFF0H. Then next, CS selector code segment, it is 0, DS 0, ES 0, SS is 0, FS is 0, and GS is 0. So all stack segments or segment selectors are set to 0 value. As we are not executing any instruction, so no memory allocation is done, or no process is accessed, no code is accessed. So the all stack segment or all the segments are set to the 0. Then IDTR, the base value is 0 and limit is 03FFH. All the registers which are not mentioned in this list are undefined, so there is no value which will be set as a value after reset. So there is no predefined value. This is what the values in the registers after reset. The first one, EX, its upper 16 bits are undefined. DL contains revision level unique identifier, whereas DH, the upper byte, contains device ID. Remaining registers are having predefined values, whereas all segment selectors are 0, IDTR table or IDT register, its base is 0, limit is 03FF, E flag 2H, and IP is FFF0H. Next, control register. as 386 has control registers, 4 control registers CR0 to CR3. In that, the control register 0 contains value as shown in the diagram. The ET bit of CR0, that is the fifth bit, it contains, or if it is set, it means 387 is present in the configuration, that means it is connected with the 386. So it indicates whether 387 is present or not. Then if it is reset, the configuration either contains a 287 or does not contains a coprocessor. So if we have value 0 in ET, the coprocessor may be 287 or no coprocessor is connected. Then the LSB is PE, protection enabled. The protection enabled means it is an bit used in the real address mode. If it is 0, it means protection is not enabled, and in real address mode there is no protection for the instruction set, so any instruction can be executed in real address mode. So whenever we execute any application, it is executed in protected mode, that means PE is 1. If MP bit, second bit is 0, it means coprocessor not present, so there is no 287 or 387. Third bit is EM, it decides whether to monitor coprocessor or not. That means whether we are going to check the execution of coprocessor instructions, whether coprocessor is in running mode or not. By using EM we can decide whether to monitor or not. The next bit is TS, task switch. The task switch bit, if value is 0, that means there is no task switching. The current instruction is a parent instruction and it has not created any child instruction or child process. So current instruction or current program is a parent program. Last bit is PG, paging disabled or enabled. If it is 1, it means paging is enabled and the memory or segments are divided in pages, so data to be accessed from the pages. If it is 0, the paging is disabled, only segments to be accessed, and the address generated, that is the linear address, is an physical address. Next is initialization required in the real address mode. What type of initialization is required? The first one is stack. We cannot use any stack instruction or the instruction which uses stack without loading the stack segment. So first we need to load stack segment and the stack segment register, so that instructions which need stack can be used. Second, interrupt table. Now if any interrupt occurs, it need to be handled, and in that case an initial state of 80386, it leaves all interrupts to be disabled. So after reset, all interrupts are disabled. We cannot have any interrupt in the 386. However, the processor will still attempt to access the interrupt table if an exception or non-maskable interrupt occurs. That means if an exception is there which cannot be masked, then the processor will try to access interrupt table, and to handle that situation, the software which is going to initialize the processor, it needs to take some actions, and these actions are, it need to set the limit of IDTR to be 0. So change the limit value in IDTR, interrupt descriptor table register, to 0. This will cause an shutdown if an exception or NMI occurs. So when interrupt occurs, it will shut down the 386 processor. Second, put pointers to valid interrupt handlers in all positions of the interrupt table. So all pointers should point to the valid handlers. To handle any interrupt, we have predefined processes or predefined set of instructions, and its address should be pointed, or its initial address should be stored in the pointers. So put pointers to valid interrupt handlers in all positions of the interrupt table that might be used by the exception or interrupt. And third one is change the IDTR to point to a valid interrupt table. That means it should point to IDT. The third one is the first instruction. As we are going to reset a processor, which instruction to be executed after reset, that we have to decide. That is the first instruction. So first, after reset, address lines, we have 32 address lines. Out of that, address line 20 to 31 are automatically asserted for instruction fetches. This fact, together with an initial value of CSIP, code stack, code segment, and instruction pointer, causes instruction execution to begin at physical address as mentioned in the slide FFFFF0H. Near forms of the control transfer instructions may be used to pass control to other address in the upper 64k bytes, that is 64 kilobytes of the address space. So this is the initialization required after reset in real address mode. Now from real address mode we can switch to the protected mode. So while switching to protected mode, we need to check some CPL value, the privilege value, we need to check some bit values, and after that we can switch to the protected mode. So how to switch to the protected mode? As we have seen, there is a PE bit in the control register 0. If it is 0, it is protection enabled bit, and if it is enabled, then we are in protected mode, it is 1. If it is 0, protection is disabled, we are in real mode. So setting the PE bit of the MSW, machine status word, in CR0 causes 386 to begin execution in protected mode. So set PE equal to 1. The current privilege level starts at 0. It is the lowest privilege level in digits, whereas it is the highest in case of the restrictions. So current privilege level starts at 0. The segment registers continue to point to the same linear addresses as in real address mode. So whatever addresses are there in the linear addresses are there in the segment registers, that same address from the real address mode will be copied to the protected mode. There is no change in the segment registers. Next, immediately after setting PE bit, that means P equal to 1, the initialization of the code must flush the processor's instruction prefetch queue by executing a jump instruction. So it must jump to the prefetch queue so that it will execute an application which is to be executed in protected mode instead of going in the idle state. 80386 fetches and decodes instruction and addresses before they are used. So before using any instruction, we need to decode, as we have seen in the first unit, decode it and then find out the operand, opcode, and then perform the operation. So decoding must be done and read the value from address. However, after a change into protected mode, the prefetched instruction information is no longer valid. As we are changing from, or we are switching from real mode to protected mode, that prefetched value is of no use because it was related to the real mode where we are executing some application or it may be some instruction, and in the protected mode we are executing some another application. So that prefetch queue is not used. A jump forces the processor to discard the invalid information from the prefetch queue, and it will prefetch next instruction from the specified address. As we have mentioned, the address where execution will start in the first instruction after initialization. Next, when we switch to the protected mode, we have to, or the processor has to set some values, and that is what software initialization for protected mode. Most of the initialization needed for protected mode can be done either before or after switching to the protected mode, and to set that values, we have different values which need to be set, and that is possible before switching to protected mode or after switching to protected mode. If done in protected mode, the initialization procedures must not use protected mode features that are not yet initialized. As it is said, if it is not done in protected mode, that means it is done in real mode, the initialization procedures, the software initialization, must not use the protected mode features. The features are provided by protected mode that are not yet initialized, because in protected mode the features may change and the restrictions will change. The first value that we are going to set is interrupt descriptor table. disable all interrupts. As real mode, we are switching to protected mode, disable all them, similar to the real mode. As IT pointed by IDTR has different format for both modes. So interrupt table is different in both the cases. So IDTR is pointing to interrupt table. Next, global descriptor table. Valid addresses in RAM need to be passed. So before any segment register is changed in protected mode, the GDT register must point to a valid GDT. It should be a valid value, valid GDT table in which belongs to the protected mode. Third, page table. It should be a valid page entries. So all the pages in the page table must be valid and they should be accessible in protected mode. If any page is not accessible, it should be removed. So PG bit must be set to 1 in protected mode, that is paging is enabled. As we are using paging in the protected mode, the PG bit last bit in the control register 0 is set to 1. CR3 PDBR, that is the page table register, in the control register 3, page table or page directory page register must be loaded before setting page equal to 1. So we need the base address of page table. From page table we will get page entry, and from where we will get the page address. So first we need the page table base address, which is in control register 3. Next, the stack need to be set. Stack or the SS register may be loaded in either real address mode or protected mode. If it is loaded in real address mode, SS continues to point to the same linear base address after the switch to protected mode. So there is no change in the stack segment. So SS will be same. Next, the first task or the first instruction to be executed, for that there must be a valid TSS for new task. It is a task state segment. So initialization procedure can run a while in protected mode without initializing the task register. However, before the first task switch, the following conditions must be prevailed. What are those conditions? There must be a valid task state segment TSS. For the new task, the stack pointer in the TSS for privilege levels must point to a valid stack segment. So that stack pointer in TSS, it should point to a valid stack segment. The stack segment is a stack memory which will contain information about or which will be used by the new task. The stack pointers in the TSS for privilege levels numerically less than or equal to the initial CPL must point to a valid stack segment. And the next condition is the task register must point to an area, the register which is used by the task. So task register must point to an area in which to save the current task state. So we are going to save the current task state at any moment in the task register. So we need a valid area or it should be a valid memory where we can store the state of the task. After the first task switch, the information dumped in the area, whatever area we are going to point, is not needed and the area can be used for other purposes. So that area which is pointed by the task register can be used for another state after the task switch, as we are retrieving the value of the task before task switch. So after retrieving it, we can use the same area for another task. So these are the various initializations required in the protected mode or when we are switching from real mode to protected mode.